This is a download from Rutland Radio.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the Rutland Radio podcast from rutlandradio.co.uk. This is where you can hear the best bits from the last week.
It's Rutland Radio at breakfast time. I'm Rob Pisani. You might have heard that Rutland medalled at the Special Olympics. It was the 15th Summer Games in Abu Dhabi and Dubai earlier this, I was about to say earlier this month, but it's going to go out on Monday, which will be a new month. Just a couple of weeks ago, a total of 7,500 athletes from around 170 countries, and England's smallest county also was there, courtesy of the Rutland Conquerors, and Sam Burton and Abby Gray are with me today. You both came back with medals. How does that actually feel?
It feels very intense. You don't realise how amazing it is at first, but when you get back to Great Britain and you just see how amazed everyone is, then you realise, wow, this is like huge. Like, I've now just become a gold medalist in the Olympics. Like, it just feels amazing.
And Abby, for you came back with bronze, part of the basketball team as well, and there's more and more female athletes actually being part of it. So, you know, you were trailblazing there.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was amazing.
And actually, quite a long way to fly. Is that the furthest you've both ever been?
It was my first time flying ever.
Was it okay?
It was good. Apart from the landing.
Yeah, there's always something about flying, isn't there?
Yeah.
How were America as an opposition for you, Sam?
Oh, USA. Well, they're very tall, and they have this one player who is a very fast player, and he made an amazing shot from one end of the court to the other. So when I first saw that shot, I was like, wow, we're against this team. But we gave it our all, and they gave us a very tough match, but we loved it, and we all played well. But they were a very tough opposition to us.
And Abby, what about for you? Who were you taking on?
We took on USA, India and Serbia, and they all gave us good games.
And what about an experience? What will you take away? What, you know, if you close your eyes now and go back there, what is it that kind of, you know, you really think about the most?
The friendships that we made.
Yeah, I would agree with that. People that we got to know and the things that we got to experience as well, because I've never been this far east in my life, and to be able to experience a place like Abu Dhabi and Dubai, it's amazing because I never realised like how big this world actually is. And then you go to places like Abu Dhabi because it's an amazing country, and it's just one of the best places I've ever been to because it's so nice, and the cities are great, and even the courts they made and everything for us, they were proper new ones, and I loved playing in those courts. Those were probably
still building the courts before we even went out.
Yeah,
like literally they were finished. I think the day we flew out or something like that.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I think probably playing basketball with other countries is my favourite bit there.
Yeah.
And you now will go down in history as medal winners from Team UK. That's, you know, I'm from Rutland.
Yeah. That's the best bit as well.
Did you meet anyone who knew where Rutland was?
Yes,
quite a few people.
A lot of people actually knew where Rutland was, so I was very surprised. But yeah.
So was I.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. Sam Burton and Abby Gray, thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio, and well done on your achievements.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio podcast.
It's a beautiful night for it here in Stamford. I'm here with William Percival, who's the chairman of the Showman's Guild. Once again, we're here in Stamford. I know the weather's not going to be as good as this all week, but you've got this most amazing spectacle that so many people look forward to in town.
The beauty about Stamford Mid-Length Fair is that people do turn out no matter really what the weather is. But when you get a nice day like we've got today and we had yesterday, that many people come round because they love the fair, don't they? I mean, we travel all year round and we go to a lot of street fairs, but we don't have one where we have the response from the local people that want the fair as much as Stamford. They are really supportive of the fair.
And tell us about this year. You've got nearly 100 attractions here. Are you taking stuff onto the meadows this year?
No, a decision was made a couple of years ago not to involve the meadows no more because, as they said, the meadows is not in the street and Stamford is a street fair, so we've kept it to the streets.
And tell us some of the attractions that we can see this year, you know, for the real thrill seekers.
Well, there's all the usual waltzes and dodgems and freak outs and things like that. There's a couple of new rides, and I think in Gooch's Court. which will catch the eye, and obviously down Bath Road there'll be a couple of extra ones down there. So there will be some different things to what they've had last year.
And how far through the season is this for you?
Well, we're into April now, aren't we? So this is
quite late, I guess.
this is now starting of our third month. We started in February.
And because of the way that Stamford Mid-Lent Fair falls, and because of actually the Sunday that it has to start on, does that actually alter things either side?
Yes, well, we've just been at Peterborough. Well, some years we're at Peterborough for one weekend. This year, with it being so late, we've been there for 3 weekends. So we take us time up when it falls like that. But I think we'd sooner have it like it is this time, because with fingers crossed we can get better weather. The later we are and the nearer we are to Easter. I'm not saying it always works, but sometimes it does.
Have a great week. Thanks very much for joining us here on Rutland Radio today.
Thank you very much.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
Well, Sire, I'm literally running around the field at St Gilbert's Primary School in Stamford. I'm here with Miss Den, who's been one of the organisers of Race for Life here. First school for Race for Life they've done in Stamford. I knew this was a bad idea, running and talking at the same time. But Key Stage 1 today, Key Stage 2 tomorrow.
That's right, yeah.
And
Get your handstand.
you've got a whole load of parents here as well.
We do handstand.
Oh, sorry. Being overtaken by a few 5-year-olds here. Wow. But I mean, what a great event for the school. And you actually coordinate all the PE and stuff here?
No. We just, me and Mrs. Desborough, just TAs, doing a sports qualification. So,
Can't get much better than involving the whole school, though, can you?
indeed.
Do you know how much you're likely to raise from this?
Hopefully £1,000 would be nice. We're heading very near that target now.
And could you describe conditions today here on the field?
Dry at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Very wet.
Exactly. So how far is everyone running today? I know it's 6 laps, but how far's at workout?
Foundation children are doing 6 laps, which works out just over half a mile.
And Key Stage 2 tomorrow?
They're doing 26 laps, which is about 2 miles.
Oh, very best of luck to them. Thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
So Race for Life this week at St Gilbert's Primary School, Foundry Road in Stamford. I believe from memory, actually, the first school in Stamford to actually do a school Race for Life. I'm here with Mrs Desborough. And, we're still going through Key Stage 1 here, but plenty more races to go.
Yes, we've got another race this afternoon, and then we've got 2 races for our Key Stage 2 tomorrow. So fingers crossed the weather will maintain, and then we can have some more fun all of it again tomorrow.
It's not bad running weather, actually, to be fair, is it?
No, at least it's not hot. It's not raining. It's quite. The kids are all warmed up. They're still going, so they're on lap 5 and then come up to 5, I think, now. So some of them are nearly finishing already, so it's brilliant.
And a great achievement for all the children, whether they're runners, whether they're keen sports people or not, really.
It's for everybody, and that's why we wanted it. You can walk, skip, you can dance round, you can talk round. It's just for everyone to raise such a good cause, raise some money, and you'd be the first school to do this around this area.
And actually, a lot of the teachers here and the TAs as well, like yourself, actually do Race for Life when it comes to Burley. So
yes, I mean I've done one. This is my 3rd year. I've signed up for already. My children do it as well with me, so it's amazing. It's such a great thing to do.
Excellent. Have a good time. And 2 days of running around the field, basically. I guess you have to do every one.
I'm going to have to do every one. I'm glad we're stopping for a little bit now, and then get back on it again in about an hour's time.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio.
Thank you very much.
Highlights from the past 7 days. The Rutland Radio podcast.
It's Rutland Radio. I'm here at Uppingham Community College. It's hoped that at some point in the future it will become a plastic-free school. All thanks to Anna and Jossie, who've led this campaign, really. I mean, I guess you've done it because you've seen what we've all seen, really. What was it that particularly inspired you, though?
Well, we're just fed up of seeing litter around the school, and we think the environment would benefit from cutting down on single-use plastic.
And you've actually been talking to the canteen about this as well as obviously the students.
Yeah, they said that because people our age don't drink enough, they need the single-use plastic bottles, so we wanted to talk to the parents at UCC to see if they could send them with a reusable plastic bottle instead.
And how far have you got with the whole thing so far?
Well,
We've made a petition and we're trying to get as many people from the school as possible to sign it.
We've also done 2 assemblies, one to year 8 and one to year 10. We're hoping to do one to every year.
And what's been the response so far from students here?
Well, a lot of people think it isn't possible, but we're trying our best to make it happen.
So what's your timescale for this? Do you have a kind of plan in place?
Well, we'd like to do it by the end of this year, possibly earlier. That'd be a big achievement.
And do you see this as kind of like a trailblazing thing, that actually you'll be the first school in the area to do this?
Yeah, if we do it, we'll be the first plastic-free school in Rutland, but other schools have achieved it.
So it is possible then, basically?
Yeah.
What would be your single tip, do you think, of cutting down on plastic use? What kind of is in your head? You obviously have to think before you do, don't you?
Well, we were thinking that as part of the uniform, we could have a reusable UCC bottle instead of using the vending machine so much.
What about generally in life? I mean, it's one of those things where we're surrounded by single-use plastic, aren't we?
Yeah, it gets in the oceans and you see lots of animals dying from it. So I think if back to your single-use plastic, you need to at least think about the consequences that could happen.
Well, that's it for this week's Rutland Radio podcast. If you have any comments, you can email us via the website rutlandradio.co.uk, and we'll have a new version on our website from Monday.
This is a download from Rutland Radio. For more information, go to rutlandradio.co.uk. This is a download from Rutland Radio.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the Rutland Radio podcast from rutlandradio.co.uk. This is where you can hear the best bits from the last week.
Gilly Franklin. I am Community Links Coordinator for CAP, Christians Against Poverty.
And tell us about the work that you do locally, because you do have quite a presence locally in our area.
Well, our passion is to try and bring hope to people who find themselves up to their neck in debt and financial difficulty.
So you raise funds to really help them get out of what must seem like a hole they can't get out of.
Absolutely, yeah. I guess my job is to raise awareness, and then we have things called Life Changers who donate money monthly, and we are partnershiped by St George's Church in Stamford.
How easy do you find it is for people to get in touch? Because it's not just about accessibility, it's asking for help when it's something like that.
Yeah, the really sad thing about debt is that it brings with it great shame, embarrassment, lots of judgment, and debt is no respecter of where we are in society. You can be on lots of benefits and be in debt, and you can be very seemingly wealthy and be in a lot of debt. But because of the shame, it's very hard for people to step forward and say, actually, I need help. So yeah, it is really tricky. And also, we don't really want to talk about debt. We live in a beautiful place and we want to talk about nice things. We give out our leaflets to doctors and lots of healthcare professionals in the libraries, the job centre, Citizens Advice Bureau, wherever people might pick up our leaflets. They phone a free phone number, which then puts them through to a head office, our head office, and then with a postcode, they then get redirected to Stamford. Simon, our debt centre manager, will then phone the client. He will then make an appointment to see them, and he then does all his visits if they are up for it in their house. That's one of our unique selling points, really, that we go to people's houses, and he always takes somebody called a befriender who then supports that person until they get through the debt. So it's different to some of the other services that are out there, because we go to people's homes and we have a befriender. Yeah, because actually, it can be like anything. Often there are down days and you need someone to talk to, and that's not an appointment. It's a text or a bunch of flowers or whatever it might be. So yeah.
And I suppose people thinking that you're based locally, someone in the community may get to know that they're in this situation and that kind of thing, because it is such a local service. In a way that can be more difficult for people to approach, as well as the fact that it's on their doorstep for that reason. The fact that, someone will say, look who I saw, just, tough.
Well, I think that's what's nice about going to somebody's house, is that it stays personal to them. They can choose to come to. We have a church office opposite Marks and Spencer's in Stamford called the Hub, and people can come in there. But we would really encourage and choose to go to somebody's house, and then they're on their own safe territory, and then that doesn't happen, because as far as anyone, we're just somebody else knocking at the door. So actually, it can be kept very, very discreet, and yeah.
So if people haven't seen the leaflets yet, what's the easiest way for them to contact you if they'd like to?
Well, I would suggest going into the church office and the opposite Marks and Spencer's, because we've got all the information there. That's where we're based. That's where our office is, and we'll be doing a give out leaflet. I think it's on the 18th of June in Morrison's. They're always very generous about giving us their foyer, and just look out. We're bright lime green, and Citizens Advice Bureau is another place. Or the Job Centre, they all have our literature. So yeah.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio Podcast.
Well, tell us, about the whole project. How long were you rehearsing for? Once a week?
We've had 10 weeks. 10 weeks in total, which actually isn't that long. And none of us are dancers at all. No. I just happen to be married to Sarah, and that's my only link.
None of us are dancers. We don't particularly like dancing or the attention from it.
And dads do have a bit of a reputation for dancing, don't they?
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm one and I'm awful sometimes.
Hopefully we've changed that a bit, and we're doing well with the target. We aimed to raise 1,500 originally. And we've cleared £2,000 already, so we're doing very well and for a very good cause.
And tell us about the charity.
Calm is supporting men's mental health. They're fighting people who are committing suicide out there, which is the biggest killer in the UK of men under 40. Lots of people have shown that it's something that's affected their lives, and they have supported us so much, and we really appreciate it. And we want to say thank you to everyone who has supported and will support us in the future.
And will you keep on dancing? That's what they always ask at the end of the dance shows, isn't it?
There's been word of us being entered into a competition, an actual national competition. We think it's currently a joke, but you never know.
And what about the moves? Do you have a signature move now after all this?
Yes, we do. It's the point. No, we've got a signature move, which is Matt's roll across the stage, which we're worried is going to injure himself, but thankfully he's pulled through. We'll see what happens tonight.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio, and well done for being part of... It's a phenomenal week, isn't it? I mean, as you say, married to Sarah, who pulls this whole thing together along with Chris Thomas.
It's good to see
massive,
how many hundreds and hundreds of kids. I mean, you only saw just now on the stage how many people there were on stage there, and there were another 3. Well, it's actually another 5 shows before this. So many people, a lot of Rutland kids and adults really love this. So.
And a huge amount of talent.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. Not with us, but yes.
Rutland Radio.
Good morning. Sunday is already full. Unfortunately, we can't take any more. RAF Wittering are limiting us to numbers to go around the airfield, and the passengers for the trailers are filling up very fast.
So paint the picture of that whole thing. A tractor drive that's mainly off-road.
Yes, we've only got 317 metres on a public highway, and that's a very low-profile piece of highway. So it's virtually all off-road. We're going all round Burley Park with some fantastic scenery, and then we are going through the Burley estate and down to RAF Wittering. We are stopping at the control tower for pictures. When we leave RAF Wittering, we are going all the way through the Burley estate, and you'll see how nicely kept it is and how well it's looked after. And we gradually make our way back to the George farm, where we've got pulled pork, cheeseburgers and hot dogs laid on. They're a foot long and they're his and hers. You start one each end, and whoever gets the middle first gets the most.
I've never heard of that before.
Well, we do have some firsts, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It probably is the first tractor drive off-road as well around here that I know of.
It is, yes. There's not many. There's tractor drives all over, especially this last weekend. But this is the only one, as I know of, that's completely off-road.
And tell us about some of the vehicles you've got signed up. I guess you've got some real vintage ones as well. And I know you're a bit of an authority on tractors too.
Oh, yeah? Who's been telling you this?
Well, I Googled your name and I saw you'd actually written books on David Brown tractors.
That's right. And I used to go all over the country doing vintage commentaries. Now, you ask what vehicles. It's any vehicle from vintage to 2019. The oldest one we've got that I know of is a 1922 Ford Model T.
They made those in tractors, did they?
No. But they had tractor conversions for them, so you can more or less count them as tractors.
Oh,
there were 50 people at one time making conversions to convert your Model T car to a tractor for the week, and then you convert it back again quick on Saturday afternoon so as you've got a car to go to church on Sunday.
So how many vehicles then in total?
146 vehicles will be on the drive.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
It's Rutland Radio, I'm Rob Pisani. Counterpoint's next concert is raising money for Sue Ryder's Thorpe Hall Hospice. Aidan, tell us a little bit about what we're expecting on the night.
Well, we've got a great selection of music from stage and screen, from musicals and popular songs, selections from Les Mis, things from Rent, a selection of songs by Simon and Garfunkel, Mamma Mia, all sorts of things really. And this is our spring concert which we're putting on in aid of Sue Ryder Thorpe Hall.
It's not the first time you've raised money for them, is it?
No, they are our nominated charity, really. They're very close to our hearts. We actually went at Christmas to sing at Thorpe Hall for the patients, and it was a very great experience to do that.
And as well as the singers, you've also got the band, which we heard as well.
Yes, we have. We have our motley collection of band here. John, Peter and Mark. Really great to have them with us, and they add so much to our concert.
And how can people get tickets?
Well, they just come along at the door. It's free entry, and donations to the charity will be gratefully received. And it starts at 7:30 on Saturday the 13th of April at Barnhill Methodist Church in Stamford.
Rutland Radio.
Well, I'm Jackie, married to Mike, and I say we became involved through a neighbour, actually, Audrey and John, who sort of gave me the leaflet and said, you ought to come, knowing our situation. So that was good. So we came along quite reluctantly on the first day, but it's been superb. It really has. That's the only way I can describe it, hasn't it, Mike?
Absolutely.
Yes. We really look forward to each week. I mean, we've had, 12 weeks now, and, Ben and Tony have found different people on the different weeks, and it really has been lovely. I mean, we've both done things that we've never done before. Mike particularly, haven't you?
Definitely. More.
Haven't you? I mean, you've never done... The first week was working with clay. Well, Mike's never had the opportunity to feel a piece of clay, have you, before? No, so that was... that was good, and, what he produced is super. So, and it's given us... happy memories, really, of working together, and it's been like an oasis for me, really. In fact, I've come and not been able to think about anything else during that time,
And I suppose also, your relationship day to day.
Yes.
You kind of have to stick together. And does Mike? Are you at the stage where you need Jackie's help quite a lot?
Not yet, but it's lurking around the corner. But at the moment, I'm 80% need 80%. I can manage, but it won't be long before I think I'm probably needing help.
Yes, physically you can manage still, can't you? Physically you can manage still, yes.
And the sort of activities, I suppose, as you say, kind of take you away from kind of focusing on what the situation is, really.
Yes, it does. I mean, we just have to think about folding and what have you this morning. I mean, it's very intense, but that is good, it's been superb, and hope to come again when it starts again in June, if it does. So, very positive.
And I know this whole session is about people who have the early stages, and actually maybe, hopefully helping, arresting, certainly not making things worse, and hopefully making things a little bit better.
Helping, Rob, very much so, I think, in that it takes you out of yourself, doesn't it? You're not sitting there thinking what's going to happen next. So a session like this is very good, and we're very grateful.
And you've done everything from craft activities to music to dance.
Yes, dance, singing, and making musical instruments. We've still got ukuleles that we can strum.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
Tony Gray, I'm a director of Rutland Community Ventures.
And over the last 12 weeks, you've been laying on
these craft activities, and it's not just been craft, it's been arts, it's been music, all sorts of things to help those with early onset dementia and their carers.
Yes, there is actually quite a lot of evidence now that for people with young onset and early onset dementia, you can actually slow down the progress of the disease if you engage in arts and creative activities. And so what we did was we had a training course so that we got some professional artists and we trained them. They came up here for the day to know how to run sessions for this particular group. And it's been astoundingly successful. And you've come today when people know each other and there's a lot of chat going on. The contrast between that first session, all those weeks ago, and now has been amazing. And every single one, we've had some wonderful things. People say, "Oh, it's made an enormous difference. It's nice to get out of the house." All of this stuff. So we're so pleased and thankful to the Rutland County Council actually who's given us some money to run this trial, these sessions.
At the moment, you are looking for funding to hold some more, and it looks as though it's going in the right direction.
Yes, what we're planning now we've run 2 series of 6, and the plan now is to run 3 series of 4. We've been supported by Rutland Sailing Club, who are offering us a venue free of charge, and Uppingham Town Council. We're talking with them at the moment about using the town hall. Home Straight, who people will know are in Rutland, local business, are going to sponsor us for part of our next series. The Armed Forces and Veterans Breakfast Club have provided us with some support also, and we're talking with other groups about helping us with this funding because it makes an enormous difference. And because of the demographic in Rutland, we have an older demographic. I was looking at the statistics this morning, and there are 360 odd people with a known dementia diagnosis in the county, but there's a hidden group of another 300 or so, all of whom could be helped by this kind of activity. So if anybody out there wants to help us, it's not expensive. It's £250 or £300 a session, and they make a big difference to these people.
And so far, you've done everything from felt making to kind of paper crafts to building small musical instruments to dancing to singing.
Yes, we've had actually one of our problems is that we decided we'd have a bit of everything just to see what people liked, and of course they like everything. So it's been wonderful, really. We've had songwriting. And a variety of things. We had, as you say, we had a dance session, which was marvellous. We've had ceramics. If people go on our website, that's www.rutlandcommunityventures.uk. There are some videos on there. We've got videos of half a dozen sessions, and the ceramics. The ceramicist came and helped them, and then took it away and fired the pots, and the pots are lovely. And then we've done painting. We've had a landscape painting. We've had drawing exercises and so on. And the thing is that these sort of motor skills and also thinking about things, and we're videoing a lot of this so that those videos can be seen by people, and there is this whole thing about can they easily remember what happened, and by looking at the video they can say, oh well, we did this last week, oh yeah, no, I remember doing that. And it's all part of that process of being engaged. And the thing about dementia is it has been until quite recently the sort of unmentionable disease. It used to be cancer. People just talk about that, but now it's this brain disease, and people have this image of elderly people in care homes, drooling away and all the rest of it. But it actually not like that. There are a lot of younger people, active people who have got this issue who can be helped. And that's really what we're trying to do by running these series, and having all these different activities means that there's lots to interest people and engage them.
And also, leading on from that, I know actually you're providing that evidence to professionals to maybe prove the model that you've created.
Yes, there is research from Scandinavia and some of it from the UK. There's an organisation called Arts for Dementia who actually came and helped us with the training. They've got 10 years experience of this. And one of the things we're doing is we're trying to make sure we get proper evaluation out of the work. And in fact, the next 2 series, one of the things we're really, really looking for is if there was a corporate sponsor who would be prepared to help us fund a researcher to do this. Because at the minute, we're paying for the artist, we're paying for the room, we're paying for our time to organise it and so on and so forth. We're a not-for-profit, so we're not making any money out of this. But we are looking for sponsorship for a researcher, and we have actually somebody from the there's a research activity at De Montfort University who working with older people, and we've identified someone who's got experience and can help us. So, but either way, we're getting results from our own activity here. But of course, it's not formalised academic research. It is what we'd like to do.
But all in all, 1-to-1, or people with their carers, it's helping, and they want to come back and get more.
Oh yes, in fact we have a waiting list at the moment. There is because there are a special requirement of the nature of the room and how light it is and how busy it is and what the acoustics like and so on. You have to be very careful where you pick. And also the numbers. So the maximum really you can have are 8 people with a diagnosis and a carer, and even that is slightly too many. And so, we do have a waiting list, and people are wanting to come. In fact, they're just now all swapping names and addresses because they want to stay in touch in the 6 or 8 weeks between now and when the next series starts. So, our goal really is to really roll this out and perhaps get the NHS involved, because there's a thing called social prescribing. Where you can give people drugs, or you can give them an activity which helps in other ways. And the problem is, if you give somebody a drug, then you're giving them the drug and you can say, well, they've taken it. Whereas this is, if you like, soft care, soft treatment. And you can't really say, well, there was a 10% improvement, but you can actually get qualitative information out of it. And that's what we're hoping to do, is to interest the GP surgeries in perhaps doing some of this social prescribing. So they might say, well, the NHS would help part fund some of this activity, and that's to the benefit of the people, and also in the long term save the NHS money.
Rutland Radio.
Yes, my name's Julian Bright. I'm the musical director.
And I'm Elaine Wilkins, I'm the chairperson of the band.
And tell us about award-winning Stamford Brass, how long you've been going, and you've moved up a division in terms of awards as well, haven't you?
Stamford Brass, off the top of my head, has been going since 1886. We've been in various sections from first section. It's a bit like the football division. We take part in competitions. It's down to the points. Sometimes you get relegated and then you go back up. In the last couple of years, we were down in the 4th division, or the 4th section. But last year, we won Butlins, and then we won the area. So the points that we've gone from that, and then also winning the national champions at Cheltenham in September, has meant that we've gone up to the 3rd section. And then this year, we came 2nd in the 3rd section, and then we're going back to the finals at Cheltenham again.
And every festival of floats parade, remembrance parades, all sorts of things in Stamford, people will see you often leading those.
Absolutely, and we think that's really important. We love taking part in the contest. We love the big concerts that we promote as well. But we also think it's really, really important to do our bit within the community and supporting whatever the community needs to do, and the things that you've said, particularly Remembrance Parade, which is a huge thing in Stamford. And we feel it's right. As Stamford, it was Stamford Town Band, we're called Stamford Brass now.
Now, this Saturday isn't just an ordinary concert for you.
We have a spring concert every year, and this year we've brought a very special guest soloist in. This is a gentleman called Derrick Kane. He's a world-renowned euphonium soloist, has recently celebrated 42 years as the principal euphonium player of the Salvation Army's International Staff Band. He's a household name within brass banding and music making, and we as Stamford Brass are thrilled that he's going to come and play with us, and I certainly think that having him on the poster has helped sell a lot of tickets.
And the set list for Saturday night, the kind of thing you're going to be playing?
Well, our soloist is playing 5 solos in his own right, which we're working very hard to accompany him with. The rest will be a mixture of traditional brass band music, marches and that sort of thing. We play excerpts from classical music. People come along and hear a bit of Wagner on Saturday night. We're also doing a little bit of a tribute to Queen, very topical with Bohemian Rhapsody, the film, winning a lot of awards. We play film themes, so there's a great mixture. Brass band is a very adaptable thing, really.
And what as a band, what does it mean to people who are in it, do you think, and the kind of community that it is? Because, there's a lot of people who've served that quite a time here.
Yes, there are. It's a real mix of age groups within the band. We'd like some younger ones, and that's a thought for the future for us, very important. And our oldest member is in his 80s. I think there's a real sense of community within the band. Sometimes we refer to it as a family. It's a band family. And we come from all our various professions and issues that we have in our own lives, and we come together and we make music together. And that's a fantastic thing to do, and can be very refreshing. It can be very energising, and it's if you can then take the music that you're making and sharing with other people. I heard it said once that people will forget what you played, but they will remember how you made them feel, and that's about all that we try and do, really.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio Podcast.
Grant Tufts, Regional Engagement Manager for Anglian Water.
We're here today at Empingham and seeing potential solar panels that could go in the Empingham area. Could you describe the kind of scale of this and the time scale as well?
Okay, yeah, so it's early days for us. We're planning to look into the feasibility of putting some solar panels along the bottom of the dam wall, along Rutland Water. So it's on our operational land that serves the Empingham pumping station, as you might know. We're looking at the plans now. Probably later in the year we'll think about installing them, but at the moment we're just doing some feasibility studies. We've done some survey work with Natural England and some other local authorities to sort of look at the options. So we're looking at potentially generating enough power to around 3,000 homes eventually, which will power maybe a third of our energy we use at our works, and maybe on even sunnier days in the entire works. So all green, clean solar energy.
So the location of them, we're seeing the dam, we've got the long pathway, and we've got the land falls sharply away. It's often where sheep are grazing. That's the sort of area we're talking about.
Yeah, so it won't actually be on the dam itself. They'll be on flat ground on the bottom of the dam, between the bottom of the dam wall and the tree lines heading towards the works. The sheep that's grazing there, we think they will definitely be able to graze there once we've finished installing the panels. Panels can be removed after the contract, maybe 25 years or earlier. The land put back to use before, but at the moment, I'd say we're in early stages, so we're here today just to talk to the community to get their thoughts and views before we proceed any further.
I suppose there's the visual impact, and also the fact that actually we may, who's to say, could we possibly get cheaper water bills as a result of this? Because, it's natural energy that's being harnessed rather than actually powering it from the grid.
In terms of visual impact, we've done some screening assessments, so we are putting extra screening in, but we believe there won't be too much to see from the village itself. You also will see them from the dam wall if people enjoy the Rutland Water walks and cycling. But we think the story is a good one to say about our ambitions to become sort of a carbon neutral business by 2050 or before. In terms of bills, well, obviously energy is our highest cost as a water company. We're a very flat, low-lying region, and we have to pump lots of water around to our customers. So I think this gives us a bit more control over our costs. So hopefully, we'll see more and more of these popping up on our operational sites over the coming years.
Is this the first one here at Rutland Water, or is it something that you've done at your other reservoirs?
We haven't done any other reservoirs yet, but there are plans to do some at other reservoirs, possibly Graffham and Pittsford, and a few others down in Suffolk. We have already got a few solar sites at lots of our operational sites across the region that are maybe sort of hidden away more from the public, but because of the use of Rutland Water as a leisure amenity as much as an operational site for us, we felt it important to come and talk to residents in the community well ahead of our plans to get your thoughts and views.
And can people find this online if they can't get here to the Audit Hall today?
Yes, we've got our renewables page on our website, so please search Anglian Water Renewables. You'll find lots of extra information and a bit more detail about our plans, and certainly there's a feedback mechanism on there too to ask any questions. Happily deal with that.
Rutland Radio.
It's freezing cold here. I'm near Rotterdam. Left the ferry in Europort this morning at about 7:30 your time, in a long queue through police check and then out onto the road. And I've just crossed the river again at Rosenberg, and I'm heading north now towards The Hague.
So you're on an e-bike. Between now and the 20th of June, you're hoping to get to the centre of Switzerland?
Yes, somewhere there, yes.
So how many miles a day do you hope to actually cover?
Between 40 and 50.
And the way an e-bike works, you pedal and it assists you, up the hills, and you can kind of set it to do whatever.
Yes, it's pedal assist. And it's been very useful here this morning. I've noticed everyone's struggling against the wind, except me.
Yeah, well done.
Because here, you see, with it being so flat, the wind, when it's head on, it's really unrelenting. It's not like at home where you get a few hills or hedges and that sort of thing.
So where are you hoping to end up this evening?
A place called Schwenningen on the coast. It's north of The Hague.
And is it somewhere you know?
I've been through it before. I'm going to stay there 2 nights, and then I want to have a look at the ball fields tomorrow, which should be quite attractive this time of year.
And literally it's you, an e-bike, and some friends that you meet along the way between now and the middle of June, or almost Midsummer's Day.
Yes. Yes, I've already met people that you're chatting to and doing exactly the same thing. Solo cycling, and going in different directions. One was heading towards Prague, was his destination. So it's quite interesting actually once you get on the road.
And presumably you have to plug in your bike each night you stop as well.
Yes, I suppose that's the logical thing to do. Although I've got about 80-mile range on this at the moment still. So depending on what I'm planning to do tomorrow, I could leave it tonight and then charge it tomorrow night.
So you could get 2 days out of it potentially, depending on...
Oh, yes, potentially, yes, yeah. I think particularly over here where it's very flat, I imagine the range is going to improve significantly. I'll be looking at perhaps 120 miles range. Whereas at home, with the hills, it just you start using the battery more when you're down in the lower speeds. But see, once you get over 15 miles an hour, there's no draw on the battery.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So you pedal assist up to 15 miles an hour, and once you get moving to that sort of speed, it's fairly easy to maintain. So you're not really struggling once you've got up to speed,
Excellent. Well, thanks for checking in with us, and
okay.
as your first stop, as it were, and we'll speak to you next Thursday about 7:45ish. About
7:45, yeah. Well, it should be better because I shall be in a hotel, certainly undercover, so that'll make it a lot easier than what we've experienced this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I certainly can't hear the wind, but I can certainly, imagine you feeling that this morning.
Yes. Okay, then, Rob.
Okay.
I'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being on.
Okay.
Bye
for now.
Bye.
Rutland Radio's best bits on the podcast.
My name's Margaret Biles, and I'm now the new High Sheriff of Rutland.
And how does it feel? Because it's a long run up to this day, and now here you are in your year of office.
It feels very exciting to finally be there. You're right, it is a bit of a long run-up, and yes, you get to the last month and you're ready to get going, but it does mean one should be prepared, so let's hope so.
So you've already got a calendar already laid out with various events, fundraising. Tell us who you're raising money for. Each High Sheriff has causes they like to support.
Okay, I'm doing it a little bit different. So I'm actually running a High Sheriff of Rutland fund, which is managed by the Community Foundation. And so any funds that I raise will go into that. And at the very end of my year, I'm going to have a sort of presentation ceremony, probably here in the castle, and then share it amongst the charities that I meet on the way during my year. So rather than select them first, I'm going to do it at the end.
And I know you'd like to recruit young volunteers, or at least inspire young people to do that, to actually do something to give back.
Absolutely. I think that in schools, lots of children do get involved in volunteering, and when you speak to children, they love it. But for various reasons, which I understand, it often kind of tails off as they go into adulthood. And I'd really like to see us keeping that going. And so that's what I'd really like to work on, because I think we have a lot of charities and organisations in this county that I'm sure could work together with the different timetables that people out at work have.
And finally, this is something that I've spoken to various High Sheriffs about over the years. Tell us how you chose your outfit, your uniform, effectively, that you will be seen in during the next year.
Oh, that's an interesting question. I went to a dressmaker in London because I know nothing about dressmaking. I thought I'd go to somebody who does know. A little bit nervous that I was going to meet a very high couture in high heels and so on. And I discovered that she keeps pet pigs in London and I keep pet pigs in Rutland. So we got on like a house on fire and she designed my outfits.
And what would be what's your feeling at the moment as actually tomorrow's a new day and you've got 364 days effectively to do this?
Yeah, huge excitement and very much to hit the ground running because there are only 364 days to go. So I'm very keen for any charitable organisations, volunteer groups, contact me, love to come and see what you're doing. Doesn't have to be a big visit, just really keen to come and see what's happening because then I can go out and share the word with others. So to lots of people, contact me and I'll contact you.
And people may know you and your husband for raising a lot of money visiting all the cathedrals. You'd like people to share that journey as well, and that's one of the things that you're offering this year.
Indeed. You mean on the cycling? Yes, we're going to join Ride and Stride, and we're going to cycle around the perimeter, which we've done a bit of a recce, 64 miles, 23 churches, so that's quite a lot of hard going for me, and so we'd love people to join us on all of it, part of it, meet us at some of the churches would be fantastic, because it's a great, great initiative, Ride and Stride.
Margaret Miles, congratulations on your appointment and welcome to it for the coming year in Rutland.
Thank you very much indeed.
Rutland Radio.
My name is Alan Walton. I work for a number of flying schools in East Anglia. One in particular is the Peterborough Flying School, based at Sibson. We came along here today because potentially, if the RAF simply imposed this new airspace, it would close immediately a number of key businesses in the area. Sacrow Park, Sibson, and it would influence also Peterborough Conington. We've tried to explain to the technical people here that they must take that into consideration, but the impression we get is their hands are tied, that the Civil Aviation Authority won't make decisions, and that there is a due process to go through. We hope they will take notice of the comments we've made, and we'll see.
So, do you get the impression that if the Red Arrows did come here and use that airspace, that would be a weekday only thing? You would be able to actually still use it at weekends?
Well, it is possible, unless they're training at weekends, because their training programme, in principle, is a 7-day programme. Our problem is that we're teaching ab initio pilots to learn to fly. We also have a huge parachute school there as well, and we can't see any other result than to close them during the training period. We've made some constructive suggestions to the RAF people here. One in particular is to site the training area over the now defunct RAF Cottesmore. And if they do that and take it even a little bit further north, we think some of the problems will be solved.
There's a lot of people in Rutland that might be quite excited at your suggestion.
Absolutely. And so everyone's got their own corner to fight, and we have to do the same, because potentially they could close us down.
The weekly Rutland Radio podcast.
My name's Wing Commander Jason Bowes, and I work for 22 Group.
And tell us about today's exercise, what you're hoping to achieve from it.
Okay, so today we're seeking public engagement on the airspace change proposal. It's a process that's regulated by the Civil Aviation Authority, so we must follow this process. This particular day is about engaging with the public about the design principles for the airspace change process, so they can have their say in what this future Red Arrows training airspace might look like.
Rutland Radio.
Okay, so my name's Sammy Lambert and I'm the new development manager at Rutland House Community Trust, and I'm overseeing the new build and trying to do the fundraising.
And tell us about the Rutland House Community Trust, you know, who it helps and, you know, what buildings you have and that kind of thing.
We're a small charity based in Oakham. We support adults with learning disabilities, so we've got 2 supported living homes, and we've got a residential home, Willowbrook, which is on Willow Crescent, and we're currently doing quite a lot of fundraising and things. We're trying to rebuild our residential home to give a better home for the service users and to build some new units in Rutland, because currently there's nothing for respite care and similar within the county, so that's something we need to create because people are currently sent out of county.
And you've got a big total to try
and reach, £1.8 million.
Yes, we have, yes.
So how are you hoping to do that?
We've applied for lots of different grant schemes. We've done our own little fundraising bits. So we did a bingo night with Day Lewis Pharmacy. A member of our staff, Keith, he did a skydive, which was really good. And then our next one is this Tugby Trail. Lots more to come.
So this is various fun runs all happening on Sunday the 5th of May.
Yeah, that's right. So it's an off-road running event, and we've got a 5k route, a 10k route, and we've also got a children's route to do.
And you'd like people to kind of register as soon as, so they can get some sponsorship, I guess?
Yes, we would like that. There's a form on our website for people to register on, and we've asked for a donation to be able to do the run. Of course, some people have chosen to run it without donations, which is fine because that raises awareness, which is what we want. So just for people to log on to our website, register for the run, and then if they wish to donate, then we'd be very grateful.
So really, that's it, isn't it? I guess you're coming on the radio to recruit runners of of various different distances, of different ages and abilities.
Yes, that's it. And we think it'd be a nice family day out, even if the whole family aren't runners. Hopefully it'll be a nice day. We've got Café Ventoux, which will have nice cakes and coffees. We've got hot rolls and bacon rolls. We're hoping to have some live music at the event. So we're hoping that even if you're not a runner, come along and support us.
And the Rutland House Community Trust, it's actually been going for quite a few years in the county, hasn't it?
It has, yes. We've been around in Rutland since 1992. So yeah, we've been around and we've expanded over the years as we've gone.
And how many people do you help currently? And will actually this new build mean that you can, well, obviously it'll mean you can help more.
So at the minute we've got 7 service users in supported living, and we've got 9 within our residential care, but we have got the facilities for 10. And once we've built the new units, we'll be able to support an additional 7 within the units.
So they're really small numbers, but I guess people with very specific needs that otherwise wouldn't be able to be helped in Rutland.
Yeah, exactly that. And there is a high need in Rutland at the minute for the additional accommodation, and people are being sent out of county to the cities and things because there is nowhere locally. So it is really, really important that we get these facilities in Rutland.
So they're away from their families, their friends, and actually, that's a long-term thing for them if they can't actually get that supported living in Rutland.
Definitely, yeah, and a lot of them are going through quite difficult times, so transition from childhood to adulthood where they need to decide which route to take, or people in crisis. And when you're going through something quite distressing like that, it's even worse when you're then removed from your local area and people that you know. So we need to keep them here.
So what's your website for people to sign up for this?
It's www.rutlandhousecommunitytrust.co.uk.
So that's Sunday the 5th of May. It starts at 11 in the morning at Tugby at Café Ventoux, where they do all the cycling and stuff there. So literally it will be from the cafe and kind of heading off in different directions for the different distances.
Yeah, so we've got a route planned that will start and finish at Café Ventoux. Registration will be within the cafe. We've also got other bits going on in the cafe. We've got Guess the Name of the Bear. We've got different cakes and bits for sale. So yeah, lots going on.
And when you get the £1.8 million, when's that all going to get underway, your new build and stuff?
As soon as we've got enough funds to get us started, then we will start. I hope to start the building work later on this year or early next year at the very latest.
Highlights from the past 7 days, the Rutland Radio Podcast.
The experience of the last round was exciting enough, but obviously the prize money's attached to it.
And actually having 10 groups to try and find a winner from in one night, that's some going, isn't it? That's more than most TV talent shows manage to do.
Yeah, for sure. And every single one of them's really talented as well, so the competition's high, but we feel confident.
And you've shared on social media the opening, which obviously you're taking part in. You can see that your harmonies, obviously with the fact that there's 4 of you, actually maybe make you stand out compared to the rest of the field. Do you see that as an advantage for being better than one?
Yeah, in some respects. There's the kind of added pressure of if one of you's off, then the whole group's off. But at the same time, you all share the nerves, if you know what I mean. You kind of share the experience. So there's fors and against.
And obviously, you hopefully get the Stamford support. You've got a lot of interest locally, from the skating to the theatre stuff that you do.
Yeah, it's sort of getting out there. I've been trying to push it as much as I can, on social media. And also as well, me and my wife are starting up our own performing arts school in 2 weeks at the Borderville Sports Centre. It's called the Urban Arts Academy.
Tell us about Xavier, the group. For anyone who actually hasn't seen the series so far, is going to be tuning into the final.
We're all from a musical theatre background, and we all did a show called Starlight Express. We didn't do the show together, but we kind of crossed paths whilst we were doing it. And then we ended up actually gigging together on other jobs. And it was kind of once we got together on those gigs and heard our kind of sound together that we were like, oh, maybe we should, do our own thing. And it sort of went from there, really.
Excellent. Well, very best of luck. Thanks for joining us on Rutland Radio, and we'll see you on TV Saturday night from 7 o'clock.
Thanks very much.
Well, that's it for this week's Rutland Radio podcast. If you have any comments, you can email us via the website, rutlandradio.co.uk, and we'll have a new version on our website from Monday.
This is a download from Rutland Radio. For more information, go to rutlandradio.co.uk.